So let's talk a little bit about the marriage of evangelicals and the Republicans and how they made abortion their wedge issue. So this man with Ronald Reagan is Jesse Helms, and him plus the moral majority are the reason why the right is so hardline and why they have no humanity where it comes to abortion, when in fact they used to actually have some compassion for women in certain circumstances. So let's get into it. A little history on Jesse Helms and Ronald Reagan. So so why did North Carolina voters choose Reagan instead of his opponent, Gerald Ford? Ford, after all, was the sitting president. Primaries had been held in 6 other states, and Ford won every one of them. How did Reagan win North Carolina? It was because Jesse Helms was helped by Governor Reagan at the time to win his Senate seat. And so, because of that, Jesse Helms decided he was going to take on the burden of helping out Ronald Reagan. Helms devoted his efforts to the Reagan campaign for more than a year. He traveled across the country. In Florida, he rallied supporters. Basically, this was his dude. He was going to push for him. So that's how Reagan won in North Carolina, and that's how he eventually won and became the sitting president in 1980. Now, what does any of this have to do with abortion? Okay, so I read this book, Kill Switch, a couple of years ago. So I'm going to get into it a little bit more. So Helms helped get Reagan elected, and he was going to use his status to help push Reagan further to the right. The issue Helms had the greatest influence on was abortion. In the Senate, Helms was the most forceful opponent of abortion by far. In a speech on the Senate floor, he called abortion a few steps away from the reasoning that Hitler used to exterminate people. Skip down. Heading into 1980, the GOP was still relatively liberal on issues of women's equality and abortion, supporting the ERA and abortion rights. But with the influence strengthened by Reagan's ascendance as party standard bearer, Helms moved to remake the issue for Republicans. This is when Helms got together with Jerry Falwell and they created the moral majority. This is when Republicans and evangelicals got married, basically. By 1980, Jesse had become the Christian right's most important advocate in the Senate. And then Falwell returned the favor by leading registration drives that created thousands of new voters for Helms. So they were feeding each other. It was a literal marriage. And now abortion is used for everybody's litmus test, the left and the right. Like, comment, share.